for the invitation to participate in the symposium. When Mr. Sergio Soto invited me, who is always in the midst of the day by day in the secretary. So I wondered, what business do I have to do with water? And as it turns out, I do. I have a lot. Because as you will see, we are concerned when there's shortage. For example, this hideous cases of the places we work in as droughts. And there are also interventions when there's a surplus of water, like last year this happened in 21 states in the country, because this just flooded and destroyed thousands of acres. And sometimes we're sent to 10 to 150 workers in Sinaloa who have lost their jobs because the crops are frozen. So I think a way or another we're involved with water. So we're going to comment now. I would like to thank Mr. José Luis Loje Camargo, with whom I've shared many occasions lately, very relevant and paramount situations regarding water and poverty, which is what we're here to talk about. Now we're going to talk with Mr. Mario, with whom we share the urge of handling this situation, as well as with Mr. José María Capadeloyo from Zagarpa, with whom we often concur in her efforts. As a prologue to start, I have set a fragment of a poem of Nezahualcóyotl. To you, Nezahualcóyotl, to you, Montezuma, the giver of life has invented thee, has forced thee, your father, thy God, in the inside, within the water. All these evidences point out that life is related to water. Human life and social convivence, from Turkana in Kenya to Tenochtitlan in Mexico, have seen the light by a river. Water can be approached from different perspectives, but that which entails us here, its role in human development. One of the three indicators in the Human Development Index and Margination Indexes are health, education, and income. The state of health is directly related with the proper sanitary conditions of households. This is the availability of tap water, toilets, sewers, and soils. The presence of contagious and infectious diseases are still which is one of the leading child deaths, causes of children deaths in the world, are related to unhealthy environments in their places of living. Without water, the generation of basic capacities couldn't be possible, nor would development be possible, such as we perceive it in the federal government. Water and development have a tight link. One cannot exist without the other. Hence, the CEDESOL could not fulfill its purpose without undertaking actions that would have a direct effect on the access to this resource, or actions or sanitary actions for communities. We are convinced that the minimum level for this development is the generation of basic capacities for the population. This is establishing conditions that would enable a person to have enough to eat, to protect their health, to get an education, and such education will enable them to choose and participate in the collective life and to live in a dignified and healthy environment. The responsibility of the CEDESOL is to help leverage the social and natural circumstances that have an effect on each individual in society in such a way that they may have an access to the life that one chooses to. The ethical and political imperative of the Social Development Secretary is to carry out actions to eliminate poverty and the inequality that persists nowadays. This is why we are committed to those who live in poverty or margination, that we're committed to. In the Undersecretary of Social Development, we're focused on specific actions on rural areas which have the bigger indexes of margination, and we have several agencies to improve their physical and social environment. The programs for priority actions for migrants, the temporary job program, among others, finance the carrying out of projects for collecting, tapping, and housing water. Through these projects, we carry out services such as provision of tap water, cleaning, sanitary services, sanitary landfills, rehabilitation equipment, and construction of health centers and schools. The actions of improving households through installation of bathrooms, backhouses, septic tanks, and now I will refer to the program for the development of priority areas, which stands out due to its budget capacity. This is aimed to leverage the inequality, and that would enable the adequation of zones that are hindered or marginated to development. This project is carried out in 32 areas, mainly in the priority attention zones, which, according to the criteria defined by the National Social Policy Assessment Council, present structural conditions of margination, poverty, and social exclusion that hinder their inhabitants' opportunity to broaden their abilities and to come to a dynamic in the national development. The House of Representatives issues this declaration every year for the priority attention zones. In this slide, we can see the inversion of this project, the basic social structure. In 2007, we had 6,387 million. And what type of projects are we talking about? This is protection and ecological preservation, tap water, urbanization, pavement, toilets and backhouses, social centers, hospital infrastructure, rural roads, firm grounds, and the increase that we can see is due to the kitchen facilities for cooking and the backhouses. And what we have to do is to totally tackle the the problems of people who live places that have dirt floors. For the 2010 fiscal year, we have built 2 million sturdy floors. We should be done by 2011, but according to the census last year, we had numbers that there are still 1 million missing, and we have to pick up our speed here to finish this in 2011. To have an idea what this represents in cubic meters of concrete, I would like to say that the Yesca Dam has 700 meters of concrete. This makes 9.2 million of, and what we have done, it's equivalent to many of these dams. Within the priority zones, there are some that have more priority than others, and it is convenient to point out that in this program we tend to 125 municipalities which have the lowest index of development through the 100 by 100 scheme that has joint actions from different federal programs that promote the social and economic development, which allows the concurrence of all the budget assigned for each program. Here we have the where these 125 municipalities are distributed. We have 20 in Chiapas, 1 in Durango, in Guerrero there are 21, 1 in Nayarit, 58 in Oaxaca, 9 in Puebla, and 15 in Veracruz. The grand total is 125 municipalities where we work through this strategy with greater force. In this slide, we can see that there's a total of homes without water. And for 2010, we have 44.67% of households without tap water. And this is only in this 125 municipalities. This is not that they do not have access to water. They do not have access to water within their household. There are water takes in the corners or elsewhere close to their homes. The total of houses without sewers, we have 89.65% in 2010, and then this hasn't increased that much over the years, but it is from 2006 where we have significant decrease. In 2006 we had 73.57%, and for 2010 we had 60.82%, which is still very high, but as you will see further on, we will go over how the budget is going to be channeled so that we tackle this issue. The total of households without a toilet, the total was, in 2010, we have 21.63%, and this was in 2005. We can see how these numbers have been decreasing, how this lack of toilets has been tackled up to reaching 21.6% in 2010. The total of waters without tap water is similar. It has presented a slight reduction. However, we're still in the 11.28%. And as you can see, we are missing the most remote locations, the ones that are hardest to access to. And we're working very hard in order to assist for them. Without homes without sewers, we can see that 34% from 90 to 35 to 25.35% in 2000, and in 2010 we have a significant decrease. And here we can see how we have tackled the lack of sewers very admittedly, and we have installed other types of solutions to those places where we cannot have sewers. The total of house without toilets, it's 4.66 in 2010. And all this data refer to the most hindered municipalities, and well, the communities with the lowest index of development live basically on field activities and cattle activities for self-consumption. The sad part is that there are not enough water resources to grow on these activities. They do not have an access to these resources, and that's where the government should take action. As you can see in this slide, this is one of the main basins. This is the land of Sergio Soto. Maybe he'll correct me if I'm wrong. This is a map of Mexico where we can see the basin of River Balsas and where it overflows its mouth to Lázaro Cárdenas, then it goes through the depression of Tierra Caliente in Michoacán and Guerrero, then it goes up to Morelos and the state of Mexico, and then down to Puebla and Oaxaca. You can see the municipalities on the right side, and I think that if I cannot see them from here, you cannot see them from where you're sitting. But what I would like to point out is that one of the main contradictions is that one of the main sources of water, the River Balsas, it runs through the poorest areas of the company, such as Arteaga, Huetamo, Churumuco in Michoacán, or Coyuca, Cuetzalan, and Juchitán in Guerrero. And these municipalities are not as developed as they should. That's why the decree that modifies the ban on the Balsas River, and this decree was published on last week, which enables the exclusive use of water, that the water that is used for producing electric motors. This document will enable 339 municipalities on the basins of the three main parts of the Balsas will have access to water for human consumption. We have been working continually, very hard, and as we know, this is a struggle. Many people have been working this for 10 years for allowing people to get out of their marginalized situations and that they can prosper. Okay, out of the over 86,000 areas that are under our action scope usually have deeply rooted habits that help them overcome their immediate lacks. But just giving them goods and services does not work as a social policy. This is why our work has a specific methodology which includes volunteer community diagnosis and sensibilization tasks that allow the efficient use of the resources. To carry this out, we have the support of the civil society of the people, academic institutions, and international cooperation agencies. We work with communities through participative actions and as well as with civil organizations that know the habits of each communities, that carry out workshops to train and make people aware and make the target population aware. We firmly believe that the participative planning makes people get involved in these projects. We have many examples. For example, Niños Manuel Castilla Brito y Niños Héroes in Calakmul, Campeches. This is one of the lands in the countries that have a very porous soil that does not hold the water. They have a precipitation among 1,400 and 1,800 millimeters a year, and as we can see the ground on this picture, we can see how this doesn't allow the water to stay so that it can be used superficially. And here we have a picture of people who are the ones that usually have to draw water out. This is also in Calakmul. This woman here is fetching water. In this area as well, in southeast Mexico, this task, as well as gathering firewood, is mainly carried out by women. Here in this picture we have a woman and her daughter who will repeat this pattern if they don't have the opportunity to know a different procedure. Here we have water harvesters that are working in Calakmul, where the community is currently organizing itself in little groups, where around a central tank we gather all the waterfall, and it's harvested there. We also, with the help of local civil societies, we have these water tanks where we connect several systems to gather water from rooftops. Many houses, the filtration process is done through boiling or through adding chlorine. This is carried out the moment they take it. According to the size of the tank, the water is shared by 2 or 3 families, which might not follow, and they will set the rules for using them. These people are the ones who choose the project that are capital to their location. And they're trained on how they used and how they handle the project and its benefits with the aid of civil organizations that might enable the growth of this project through time. We have one other very successful case of water harvesters in the Huasteca zone of San Luis Potosí between the municipalities of Santa Catarina and Quimizón. First of all, we have this, which has been carried out in a multiple use court, and we also have the same thing happening in Matlapa, which this happened as well in a sports area. And these are all examples of water harvesters in Santa Catarina. I don't know if you know about it. This is inhabited by Palmes indigenous people, and you'll see that there are many holes in these places because this was due to a meteorite shower. This is the land of the stars. So through these harvesters here, this is an atismon, a desert zone, with this roof over this court. We have been supplying water for this particular community. Another case in terms of community work that has been very successful, we can see one other part of gathering water through bodies of water. This promotes actions for the prevention and control. This organization called Fundación La Planta. This has installed dry bathrooms all through the lake of Pátzcuaro. So as you can see, it's not only harvesting or gathering water or treating it, and as we have said before, another very important part of it is
cross organization in coordination with CONAGUA and the Secretary of Development of Fishing and Crops. We've been trying to reverse the autoconsumption process and helping communities to use the resources. What we did in Ocampo, due to the atypical rainy season, it's a good example of a well-organized effort. As you remember, last year, on February 2nd and 3rd, we had very heavy rain in Michoacán, and besides the disaster that happened in Menangueo village, there was trout production tanks that were ready, and well, they ended up in Tuxpan, far away, and Huingapeo areas. With these organizations, government agencies, we could establish the tanks supporting the seasons and opening the roads, and we also protected the area for future events. Agarpa contributed with the resources so the producers could initiate their production. In total, we invested around 10 million pesos, and the tanks at the time being are now providing trout in this in the amount of 40 tons that would be able to be traded, and in total we are expecting that in the cycle we get 70 tons that would be taken from these tanks. And in these illustrations, we are seeing how the accesses were built and how the tanks were recovered. We worked along with Semarnat, with CONAGUA. Next one, please. And another example of joint efforts in Los Guajes, in the municipality of La Piedad, including conduction, distribution, and getting to treatment plants. This is an example of how organizing a community, regardless of the poverty conditions, the project could be developed for drilling, for conducting, up to the point of distributing in the entire community until getting to the wastewater treatment. There are other great works that deserve mention that were organized with the same